because I was the energies were just like really, really up there. They were just like going, and so yeah, energies were something else.
Yesterday?
Yeah, I am this morning, so now I'm kind of like easing out of it now.
Yeah, I woke up feeling strange this morning. But what is today? Wednesday?
Yeah, today is
Um
Wednesday, huh?
right? Uh but it seems like it's been like this since this past weekend.
You
Like
know what's really interesting about all of this for me personally is that so during the whole month of September, I was in upstate New York doing plant medicine, everything from ayahuasca to mushrooms to peyote to San Pedro to
really?
everything. Yeah,
What
yeah,
was
yeah,
that? Like the Woodstock of
yeah. Actually, it was right next to us, like it was in Socrates,
hmm.
and even did Cambo. And since I've been back, the frequencies, the energies have not been as harsh with me. I
Yeah,
still feel it, but not as intense as everyone else.
yeah. So I mean that's not a coincidence that you went and did that when you did, because that we just had what the 11/11 gateway was, I think, last Thursday.
Yeah, that was last Thursday. Yeah.
So you do this over the weekend?
No, it was in the month of September. So
Oh, in
all the
September. I
yeah.
got you. I got you. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. I'm still
No,
a
so
little bit
during the whole
hazy.
entire month of September for 5 weeks, I was gone
So
and
were
was
y'all doing
doing.
something every day?
No, but it felt like it.
So was it a month long retreat, or was it something you just want to do?
Well, it was my Peruvian family. They were here for end of August to early October, and I said to myself, I've always wanted to do at least 2 or 3 weeks of plant medicine, so like every weekend. But fortunately, my shaman, it's like, hey, they love me. So I did the weekend ceremonies and then I did a Cambo during the week. And then the last 2 weeks I was there, I was doing medicine almost every other day. So
Wow.
aside from the ceremonies and the Cambo, I have my own little personal ceremony. So that was really interesting.
What's a Canva?
So Cambo is venom from a frog.
Oh wow, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
That's what set Mike Tyson straight.
I just read about that. I'm like,
He
what?
swears by it. He swears by
Yeah.
it.
But you have to be ready for it. It's like a very physical experience.
So what was September like doing plant medicine all month in Cambo? What was that? I mean, what were you like going into it, and what were you like coming out of it?
Well, going into it, I was excited already. I was super excited and just wanted to be away from all the minutia of the everyday, with the bombardment of things that are happening. And so I just wanted to have some downtime, some peace, some getaway. And while I was there, it was definitely what I wanted because being in Socrates, with nothing, very small town, not a lot of communication, not it was just like all downtime. And coming back, it took me almost the whole month of October, honestly, to readjust to being back to civilization, after doing the medicines, after doing everything. And then just, getting back into life and getting back to business. It's like, wait, where am I? What's going on? What's happening? So that whole adjustment period, it was like, whoa, wait a minute, let's slow down here. Where am I? What's happening today? What day is it?
Hmm.
It was like it was all of that.
Well, like October, I think most people I've talked to, October was just hellacious. I mean, it was like the middle of October, like the 10th or maybe the 12th through the 20th was just massive purging, purification, shadow. I mean, there was just all kinds of stuff going on, and we seemed to come out of it nice. And then November has been kind of I don't know. It's just like almost like a droning, like to me, it's like I look at all the propaganda and all the just it's just ridiculous, the distortion. But at the same time, there's people expanding on a massive scale at an
Yeah.
individual level. I just wonder, when is it going to show up in force?
Well, it's interesting that you say that because doing two things came to my mind that I want to share is that people who are light workers, people who are in this already, you know, earlier this year and part of last year, myself and a few other people that I know, we went through a whole mess of stuff. I mean, everywhere from, not feeling well to physical aches and just like the whole everything that else is experiencing now is what I went through early this year and late last year. So like all the ascension symptoms and this and that, all of that stuff I already went through. And then, like I said, being away for the whole month of September, doing plant medicine was almost just like a full on physical and energetic reset for me. So
It's like
coming back,
you went into dimension for a month.
I went everywhere because I was literally everywhere at times. I was the universe and I was this, I was that. And so in that, experiencing all of this, on a smaller scale, with the light worker community, with the 144, with us, moving in that space, and then now everyone else has experienced it. Everyone else is it's like, oh man, what is this? I don't understand. I can't get my bearings. I feel ill and this and that. And so it's natural because we feel it first, before anyone else. And then we kind of, at least what I do is when I feel stuff like this, I allow myself to feel it and I kind of like fine tune it a little bit. So when I do feel it again, it's not as harsh for everyone else. Because, if you're not ready or if you're not prepared to feel these energies or if you're not prepared to allow the energy to flow where it needs to flow and to step into that, then you are just gonna succumb to the bombardment of the energy that we are receiving at the time. So it's really interesting in how the light worker community and then those who are not in that community or those who are just healers, we all feel it differently and adjust to the frequencies in another way.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Uh, Hang on, I got to get this
Yeah, no,
sex.
I see.
We got a sex bot on our YouTube. Um, well, but even I hear what you're saying. There's no way out. I mean, you can't divorce yourself from what's happening. And I'm listening to you thinking, you know, I can't say I've been through anything.
Right, because
I
we've
mean,
already been through it.
but what I'm saying is, like, it just keeps coming, and it's
Yeah,
not like a bad thing. It's not like a bad thing, because one thing that's definitely happening is when we're in this energy. Like, I remember this weekend, just and Morgan and I just kind of went through it the same way. And it was, you wake up in the morning and you're just like, like you just came off of a submarine for 2 years or something, or
yeah,
you're just like almost like in a daze. And
yeah,
it's almost like these very human things, that we don't even think about, like the way we think, the way we move, the way we feel. I mean, it like anything that's like, I guess, lower vibration is going away, and this new stuff's coming in, and it's taking some getting used to.
yeah.
But
But you,
when it's happening, now on the other side of it, there's going to be an expansion.
yeah, but you brought up something interesting too that I want to address too. You, want to know when is it all going to come to a head? And from what I feel and from what I can understand and feel into, is that it's going to come to a head when there is a massive collective shift, which is part of the reason why I do the work that I do. When I do the online meditations or when I do the online groups and things like that, is to help create that collective consciousness to that shift so that when we get to the higher percentage, everything will start to have that tilt. And we come to that crescendo. It's like, oh wait, that's happening now. It's happening now. It's happening now. just seeing everyone living and rejoicing
Hmm.
because we, made that shift, that collective shift.
Well, I don't know. I've been thinking about that too. I mentioned it yesterday on one of the shows, and it was like, having that conversation with Big Todd and Little Todd, and I'm going, okay, so the little me is going, when is this going to be over? Like, when are we going to
Yeah.
get to the party? To the coronation, and then the other one's like going, well, do you really want it to end now? Are you really ready for it to be over, or do you want to have some time to go out and create things? What can you
Yeah.
do in this atmosphere, just from a place of creation, inspiration, creation, art, whatever. And I had to sit there and think about it, and I was like, it's all right. Everything's all right. I know this distortion and all that's getting really stupid. I mean, it is. But at the
Yeah.
same time, what are you going to do? And if it's truly a situation of as within without, then I guess we just keep doing our work. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
honestly you really can do. I mean, that's why I continue to do what I do. I mean, nothing's
Mm.
going to stop me from doing the work that I do and being of service to my clients and anyone else that comes in because, we all have to, you know, step up our game and be in the work and be involved because this is why we chose to come here when we did. This is why we chose
Right.
to be at the forefront of most
Right.
of this is why we feel what we feel before mostly anyone else. So when it comes time for everyone, it's like, oh crap, what's going on, what's happening, somebody help, help, help. you know and so it's then you, me, or anyone else is like, okay, here I am ready to help. So it's like it's just in that vein of energy, in that lane, to say, well, this is going to be a tough ride, and so you have to strap in for a little bit. But once you're at the end of the roller coaster, it's like, yes, that sigh of relief. But then sometimes it's like, I want to go again, I want to go again.
That's what happens. You go down, and then you go like this, and then you start going up again, and the hill's bigger. But
And
I don't know.
then you're in
I'm
that second loop. It's like you figure, why did I want to do this again?
yeah, I think we've all asked ourselves that. But like, so like, okay, you still down in Florida? Or are you in New
I
York?
am, yeah.
Where are you at in Florida? Are you in Miami?
No, other side. I'm on Cape Coral. I'm on the West Coast.
Oh, you're at Cape Coral?
Yeah,
Okay.
by Fort Myers.
So you're not dealing with like a massive metropolitan area. Fort Myers is pretty big. Fort Myers and Naples, right?
Well, no, they're not that big. It's not
No.
like, New York or Chicago
No,
or anything
no,
like
no.
that. No, but it's not crazy down here. And actually, I was just in New York a couple of weeks ago, and it was interesting. It was really interesting to be back there after not having to be there, living there for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Just the whole shift. I mean, because I was
Did you
there
go to
work.
New York after the plant medicine month?
Yeah, I did.
So what was that? What was that like walking into the city? Because they have pretty strong restrictions there in
Yeah.
comparison to the rest of the country.
Well, I'll tell you this. So I'll give you two comparisons. One, while I was still up in Saugerties, they have a little town that outside of where we were. So I went into the little town a couple of times, and just being around people after being in the wilderness for almost 3 weeks was really intense. It was a lot. Like just to be in a car and being around people, like this is too much. I can't take it. I can't take it. But the adjustment period of me being back, in October for a whole month
Hmm.
gave me time to really adjust to just being in civilization. So when I got to New York, it was really interesting. It wasn't as harsh of a transition as I thought it would be. But yeah, the restrictions, I mean, it's like you can't hardly go anywhere without having proof of being vaccinated or having some sort of identification. And what was even more interesting in how the hours of businesses even changed because getting up early just to go to work. There was used to be places that would be open at 7 a.m., sometimes 6 a.m. And places didn't open till like either 8 or 9 o'clock. I'm like, what is this? Where am
Wow.
I? This is
It's
not.
tricky.
This is the city that went to sleep.
So did you have to like show your ID wherever you went?
Yeah, and proof of vaccination and all that
Who
stuff.
checked you?
Who was ever at the door?
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
it's
crazy.
mostly restaurants, because that's the only place where I went to was restaurants.
So, I mean, I know you wouldn't have the exact figure, but just based on what you saw, how and what you know about New York, because I know you're from New York, but or live there. Um, how many people would you say? What percentage of the metropolitan area is conforming?
From my experience from the weekend I was there, pretty much all.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there's like, I mean, it's, I mean, because you can't literally, I mean, honestly, you literally can't go anywhere.
So, okay, so given what you know about New York, being a homeboy, uh, what percentage of the people do you think are walking around with, uh, you know, with bootleg black
Oh,
market
oh, probably
identification? And
less than 10%.
really,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because what I find interesting about all of this is the minorities, and how, and it doesn't matter what group of minority, just a minority, period. Whether if you're black, Latino, gay, Asian. So like most of the minorities in the pocket of providing the proof for the mandates and doing and so forth and so on. And the reason being is everyone's afraid, really, because it's their
really,
livelihood. Because if it because this is something that I was thinking about the other day. I mean, and it speaks to everyone who has this built-in fear of their livelihood. And if your livelihood is threatened, then you're going to do what is deemed necessary to maintain that flow. And I don't fault anyone for doing that, because it's their life. It's what they do. And so sometimes you have to give in to the battle only
yeah,
to win the war.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's yeah, but I mean, we've had people come on that got the jab,
Hmm.
and I respect everybody's decision. The thing is striking to me is what you're talking about is like the herd mentality.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to say sheep because that sounds so degrading, but
yeah,
just it's just like when is this? When is too much too much? I mean, it's and I got to say, I woke up this morning with that on my mind. I was like, this is getting kind of ridiculous. Yeah, I know I need to stay focused on myself, uh, in some way. I know that there's a positive to this suppression and the restrictions and the lunacy. Uh, it just seems like since all of us have had our own internal shakedown where we've just crumbled and the dark nights of the soul and so on and continue to go on and continue to go on and follow this higher guidance that as within without it just seems like there's no way other than a total deconstruction, uh, and I don't see how it's gonna people enough is going to be enough at some point. It's already happening with some people.
yeah. What comes to my mind, um, almost immediately, and also in a funny way. Have you watched the show Squid Games on Netflix yet?
No, but I was kind of struck by the way they push, because I hadn't had a TV until Morgan and I got this place last summer, and
Mhm.
in like 10 years, 10,
Yeah.
12, 14 years, something. So we started watching shows when we'd want to process and just chill out.
Mhm.
And since she's been gone, I'll watch it off and on. I find it very difficult to attach to anything. It's hard for me to watch something all the way through, whether it's a video or a movie.
Yeah.
But what I have noticed in a really big way through the work I do every day, and it kind of like pulled it all together, just having a TV, which I have Prime Video and Netflix, and of
Mhm.
course YouTube. And what I noticed was behind these things that are being put out there, there's strategy behind those too. Like it's all about inputting thoughts or suggestions or fears or whatever into your
Right.
subconscious. It's really interesting because a lot that you see advertising in them, even and it's just under the radar. But the Squid Game, I saw where that was really pushed. I mean, it was like the
Yeah.
number one thing, right? So
Yeah, but
what
the
was it?
reason why
Yeah,
I bring it up is because the very first episode is a lot to take in for anyone. I mean,
really.
it's a lot. And so the premise of this, I'm not going to give too much away, where, they play childhood games. And of course, last one standing wins the jackpot. But the very first episode is called Red Light, Green Light. And if anyone knows red light, green light, when the person says green light, you get to go as far as you can before they turn around and say red light. And so the reason why I brought that up is because, we are what I feel is in this red light, green light kind of scenario. Is, everyone is on the green light and we're doing what we can and running, trying to make sure everything is done and okay and so forth. And then before you know it, a week later, red light, wait, we got to stop what we're doing, got to rethink everything, what's happening, what's going on, what do we have to shift, what do we have to move? And so it's like this whole game in a way
Yeah,
where there's this space of constant change to allow for you to say, okay, I see where I'm moving into, I see where I'm going, I'm seeing what's happening, I'm seeing what's shifting, and then you make your adjustments, and then it starts all over again. You see, so it's
yeah,
like the whole process, and I feel that's what we're in until we get to that tilting point of mass collective consciousness. And like I said, this is why I do what I do to help move and accelerate that shift, so that way when we get there, it's like, oh yes, there it is.
when you've been on the show before, you talked about your life and you talked about some of the things, some of the challenges you had as a person of color, as a gay man, and just being different. Period.
Yeah,
Uh, and I think it's pretty obvious that if you look at things from a consciousness standpoint, all the propaganda, all the wars, all the bullshit is really about creating division,
yeah.
and separation. Uh, in your experience in New York and even down there in South Florida, since you had the plant medicine and just taking everything in, and then of course having the backdrop of your life experience, are you seeing people, like somebody just put vax to non-vax, like are you seeing people when in your like when you're out on the street and going to these restaurants that were openly divided, like you didn't get a vax or put your mask on or that type of thing?
Well, here is, none of that. I mean, there's no, you know, vax versus non-vax, so at least not openly, because I mean, people, they don't care as long, at least the establishments, most of, especially the small businesses or restaurants, they seemingly don't care that much because they are more about keeping their business open.
So in Florida, because in Florida, and I've seen reports, I know consistently that they are either the lowest per capita or very much near the lowest in the
Yeah,
country.
yeah.
When you go out in Florida, do a lot of people have masks? Is it like 50-50 or?
No, yeah, I'd say it's probably like 50-50. I mean, you go to your local Walmart, half people don't, half of them do. So it's almost like personal choice,
Yeah.
But what I find most interesting
Hmm.
about this is that when you look at it, it's mostly, 30 and under who aren't really wearing
Yeah.
masks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, and not saying that's everybody, but that's, part of the majority is like 30 and under. I'm like, this is very interesting. And so, when you look at that dynamic here versus, a large city like New York or even Chicago, because I was in Chicago earlier this year as well, you know, it comes down to who are you surrounding yourself with, your personal beliefs, what area of the city you live in,
Yeah.
if my livelihood being threatened. There's all these
Yeah.
um things, all these
I mean, I've talked to people. We had somebody on the show, and their family was divided, not in a bad way. They
yeah.
respected each other's decisions, but like husband and wife, one was jabbed, one wasn't. I mean, and I think the other thing that kind of strikes me, we can start talking about the energy of it all, but is there really is no information out there that's coming from these institutions, whether it's media, government, the medical industry, big pharma, whatever, but there's really no information coming from them that can even be trusted. So, how many people have had adverse reactions, or even
Don't
lost?
even get me started with the scientific
But
stuff
you know what I'm
behind
saying?
it.
I'm just saying from a consciousness, because
Mm,
our
yeah,
experience is obviously coming from our perception. If we think
yeah,
about it in quantum science, but so there's like a battle for what we hear and what's put before us and what we see and
yeah,
experience.
yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, people talk about boycotting CNN and not and not buying certain products and stuff. I mean, do you think it's going to have to get to that level, or do you think that a small, powerful minority working in the energetic field can, or maybe even is, making a difference?
Well, honestly, I think it kind of goes hand in hand. You have the uh, small group of people who say, I'm going to boycott this, I'm going to boycott that. You have all this boycotting going on, which is fine, because that's the physical manifestation of energy work that's been put out there, because you have people who just want to create change and want to be change makers, and that's their way to go about it. However, then you have people like myself and people that I know. We step into the energetic field and we sit in meditations and have these group meditations, not just here, but virtually everywhere, and to bring this energy of change to affect this change. And so it is in that um, is we indirectly impacts everything else that's happening. And so when you have people, especially when you have the 144, and for those who are watching, the 144, when I speak of that, it's 144,000 light workers on the planet who are sent here during this time to do the work that we do. And so being in that grid, being in that company, when we do work and when we connect to one another, it is in that energetic field where we also affect change. And then sometimes you see the change, that happens on the physical level, whether if it's people going out and protesting or laws in certain cities change, or, so it's just really goes about the intention of what do you wish to affect.
Right on. There's been a lot. There's been. I think you could give a strong argument. Wrong
Mhm.
word, but that more and more people are experiencing psychic episodes,
Oh yeah.
enhancement of skills and abilities, memories returning, and just a lot of stuff that you can't even explain. But do
Mhm.
you feel that there is, let's just say, non-physical soul family, or however you want to term it, aspects of yourself, aspects of me? Do you feel like we're getting assistance from the ethers, from the non-physical, from our non-physical family? Let's just put it that way.
Without a doubt, that's an absolute yes.
Are you
And
having any experiences like that, or I mean, on a
well,
personal level?
doing the work that I do, I mean, I experience this almost on a daily basis. When I do readings for people, when I do energy work or healings on people, I connect with them on a soul level, connect with their guides. So yes, I feel it every day. But for people who are not so familiar with this, such as my clients or people that I just know, they send me messages that say, Hillis, I just had this really strange experience. Can you help explain to me what this happened? I'm like, well, what just happened? They, I have a friend of mine who, I forget what the proper term for it is, but she can't go near electronics
Hmm.
because she like does something to them. It's like this weird thing that happens when she goes near electronics. And there's somebody else I know that they have to be very mindful around fire because that's it's that type of energy. So I feel now that we are in a slow ascension and things are just going to move, accelerate as time moves forward. But yeah, there are definitely a lot of people whose awareness, their consciousness is up leveling to where we can tap into other abilities. And I use abilities strongly here because that's what they are. They're not gifts. They
Mm,
are
true. Yeah.
inherent abilities that we all come to earth
Yeah.
with. And I had a reading some years ago where someone told me, it's like, yeah, you came in with 8% of your telekinesis. I'm like, only 8%? Where's the other
We're only using
92?
10% of our brain. So why would that be a shock?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
are you noticing any with your clients or with yourself? Are you noticing any evidence, or is there any evidence from your mind of the transformation from carbon based to crystalline body, and or any physical, you know, things that are happening that are kind of going against the way we've aged or the way we've gone through life from a physical basis up to this point?
Well, yes, especially it was witnessed a lot in my time away doing plant medicine. My personal evidence. If anyone has experienced ayahuasca, you go on a medicine journey with the medicine. She shows you what you are being asked for, what she wishes to show you. And so in that, I asked, I want to see inside my body. I want to see what my body looks like. And so it was in that where I began to see some of the most brilliant light colors in my body, the most brilliant colors I've ever seen. And it was being explained to me that the old is leaving and that the new is arriving, the new is coming in. And so this is one of the things that I've, noticed that I am coming into my light body, to my crystalline body, which is one of the reasons why I even started doing light body transformations for people, because the more of us that step into our light body as a collective, the more each of us can receive that,
Hmm.
because it is in that essence, in that space, where we can also accelerate and grow together. And in that evidence, it helps me to really see, to understand the formation of the hexagon crystals, the hexagon cells that are coming in, that are transforming into our bodies in the crystalline shapes. And the reason why it's hexagon is because it's the most stable structure.
Hmm.
Of course, under a microscope, you probably still going to see circular shapes, because that's what they are. But on an energetic level, on a very finite level, there are hexagonal shapes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And in your sessions with people, like just over the last year and a half, while this has been going on, a lot of practitioners have talked about how, among everything else, their sessions are changing, their clients are coming in, they've got a different makeup. They can see the change that's occurring. But like in your sessions, do you ever pick up any collective information from your clients through the sessions, and or just in your own communication with infinite intelligence? Do you have any feel for what's happening collectively?
I do my best not to pick up any collective information while I'm in session with clients, because I want it to be completely about them.
Hmm.
And then if there's anything that needs to go out collectively, it will typically at the end. But what I have noticed is that the majority of my clients that have been coming in lately have been wanting to release sexual abuse issues. And I
Hmm.
find that that has been a dramatic shift, because that's one of the deepest traumas that we allow ourselves to hold on to and then want to let go of, but don't really know how to let go of. And so when people come to me and say, hey, I have this and I want to let go of it, and when I'm not surprised, because I already have a feel before I connect with them that it is the sexual trauma. It is because we lose our power in that. We lose our voice. We lose a lot of our different aspects of ourselves when we experience something of that traumatic level. And so, when it's not surprising, because we want to regain our power, we want to have our voice, we want to feel who we are again. And so, when someone of any traumatic experience, when we lose a majority of ourselves and we just fall in line or just fall in the space of status quo or want to hide ourselves, I mean, it just gets to a point where it's like, look, I'm ready for change. I'm done.
Right. Do you find that these people that are coming in, um, this makes sense to me. I'd not heard that, but it would make sense to me. Like the deepest stuff is coming out. Are you finding that they were aware of these uh, experiences that happened to them, these traumas, or are they just waking up to it?
Well, I feel that they have been aware of them, but on another level. But as we accelerate in this energy, people are getting tired of carrying them more so than the level of awareness. So it's like the extra weight. Like, oh man, what is this that I'm holding on to?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a good sign if that stuff's coming up. I mean, it seems like everybody's stuff is coming up. So let me ask you this: since you returned from the plant medicine month in October, was that September?
September.
Uh, like just in the normal course of things, like it's like, is there a difference in you? Do you feel like what triggered you before you had that month of plant medicine and after? Are you getting triggered? What do you do when you get triggered? I mean, have you noticed any change in the way that you function throughout the day at a human level?
Well, definitely, my desire to watch anything other than what I want to watch, which cartoons, movies, things that bring me joy. I don't watch any news whatsoever. If I do get any news, it is from my phone or filtered in from someone else. I don't directly have my attention to that. But as far as me being triggered, everyone gets triggered. But like you said, how do we respond? And how we respond is much differently. Before I would uh, have internal communications, like, what is it? So I would just go through the whole internal process before I would even respond. And now I just go through the internal process and just let it go because it doesn't make sense. If someone triggers me or if something triggers me or whatever triggers me, I know I have to own what it was that I allowed to be triggered, whatever situation, environment. So I have to own that. And so it is in that ownership. It's like, okay, yeah, that was me. Yeah, I did it. Okay, so now what do I do? And so now it's in the process. So how I process things are a lot different, you
Hmm.
know, and how and my focus and attention is a lot different on things that satisfy this person, this being, this soul. And so it is in that the tools and reminders from me being or medicine for a whole month. It's just like all these messages and reminders come back. It's like, hey, remember when we said, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that moment. And so it's like, okay, step back and analyze it and just review it and really understand what the message was for that moment.
Yeah, I get that. I want to ask you too. I'm going to go back up a little bit, but
Yeah.
knowing that you come from a place of neutrality, and then just knowing about your life and the things
Mhm.
that you've brought into balance that were imbalance coming at you. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we
Yeah.
we can all relate to that. And the fact that you're a super empath. What's it like walking around in New York City versus walking around, let's say, in Florida, in Fort Myers? Is there a different energy collectively as you walk out into the streets and do the things that you do?
The better question would be, how was New York before and after?
Well, yeah, how was it before and after? Because I mean, I lived there for 4 months, and man, it was just when I
Yeah,
was there, I would hear to myself, "This is the heart of the world. Like there's something going on here that
yeah,
was is an incredible place from a vibratory, respect and just it was amazing." But so yeah, answer that question. So what
yeah.
was it like before? Well, we know what it was like before, but how do you see the difference?
Well, personally, I will say that, being one of an energy practitioner, one who understands energy, I know how to turn on and turn off.
Hmm.
But there are some instances where you just feel, and it could be a soul of a woman where you just feel. And that's how New York was, when I got there and I settled into the energy. I'm like, this is completely different. Because um, so after my medicine journey, I was in Brooklyn for a couple of days where the energy was just kind of like calm, mellow, relaxed. I guess because I was just still in that medicine energy as well. But when I went a few weeks ago and I was in Manhattan, it was like, whoa.
Were you
It-
what? I mean, what were you picking up from the collective? Were you picking up like fear
well,
or?
no, it wasn't a lot of fear. It was just more so of depression and
Wow.
angst and anxiety and uncertainty, all the energies from the lower vibrating spectrum. It was from that end. And there were peaks of joy, when I was out, and it could have been my own personal joy just from walking around the city, just being there. But there was those moments as well, as opposed to just being here in Florida. It's like, you know,
Business as
everyday
usual.
normal.
Yeah, that's how it is here in Arkansas. Like you were talking about Walmart, half the people are wearing them in Florida. When you go to the Walmart, well, I don't have much of a choice because I'm in a small town, so I have to go there, once or twice a week.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about it. I I, I don't go in there counting, but I would bet you the number here might be 20%, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But it is kind of a business as usual kind of deal, you know.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the businesses, the mom and pops, the small, they want to make their money. And it's about their livelihood. It's about survival. It's about, living their life. And so when you have that, when you're in this space of like, oh, they're threatening my livelihood, what am I going to do? My business is shutting down, what am I going to do? It's like you got to do what's best for you, because people often ask me, Hillis, I'm going through this, that, or the other. Like, what should I do? And I reply back to them. I say, well, didn't we just talk about this the other day? You follow your heart, follow your intuition. I mean, this is what it's about. And so I understand that sometimes people are in situations where they can't readily jump to change the circumstance or situation. But, do the best that you can in that moment because we all are in this together. And the more of us who allow ourselves to move into a collective awareness and to a collective space where we can tilt the scales, where we can begin to say, wait, this is the moment that we've been waiting for. It's finally happening.
Hmm.
It gets you excited.
Have you had any, let's just say, experiences of glitches, time, just different things? I read an account last night, and a girl was, I think she was, I think she was talking to her neighbor. She was talking to her neighbor outside, and this is I don't know if it was New York. It wasn't New York, but it was a pretty well populated area. And so she was standing outside talking to her neighbor, and as she was talking to her, and it was the middle of the day, no clouds, everything went black for like a millisecond, like nighttime, like the sun blinked or shut its eyes, right, or shut its eye, and it just went like that. And she continued to talk to the neighbor, and she realized that the neighbor was acting weird too. She asked the neighbor. The neighbor said, "I just saw that." And then they asked another person who was near. I haven't seen anything like that, but there seems to be these little glitches. I can't put my finger on it to describe it, but I've heard other people talking about different things that might happen. Have you experienced anything like that?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I mean, I think it's getting more frequent as we move into 4 and 5D energy because we have the universe energies. are adjusting and moving and accelerating. And even now, as the poles begin to shift, and well, not begin, but they're shifting. And so, in the shift of the polar energy, that's going to create, what we call glitches or recalibrations as well. And so, with me personally, my glitches have always been on a personal level, to where I would be, either coming out of the shower or doing a meditation or having a conversation with somebody, and like in a blink I'm like, wait, what time, days? So it's like I lose all sense of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's common with a lot of people, is that when we are in the space of recalibration, that we forget time, because time really doesn't exist. Time is just a way for us in the physical world, in the 3D world, to measure energy as energy moves forward, as energy does what it's supposed to do. So that's our way to measure and how to keep track. And this popped in my head too, and I really don't want to say it, but it's also a form of enslavement. It's like, oh well, you gotta do this by
Oh
this
yeah,
time,
of
do
course,
that
yeah.
by that time. So it's like the whole mental mindset.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of evidence from people around the world, in these, at least in my world, like the people I observe and whatever, but that time is not the same thing it was. It's it's
No,
it's
goodness,
it's just
no.
clearly becoming something else. It's hard to plan things, uh, schedule things. Even, I mean, that's a challenge. Even
Well,
like
like
three
yesterday.
D, yeah, like you said, yeah. I can't believe I screwed that up. But I was happy that was the only one I've screwed up in the last I don't know how many.
No, but
Four.
like I said, it was perfect because the energies yesterday really didn't lend to
I
that
agree.
space.
Yeah, I noticed. Well, Morgan's talked about this a lot. She primarily does the scheduling. I've just picked it up for the last couple of months, just because of the way things rolled. She's been
Hmm.
kind of mobile, and that the schedule, like, she'll give people a bunch of dates, and then if you look forward 2, 3, 4 weeks, you can see how it's just sculpted to the energy. Like,
Yeah.
I had 2 off days last week, which is unheard of. One of them wasn't planned that way. Nobody picked the dates. I don't know how it happened. And then whatever was scheduled in those 2 days canceled. And of course,
It's
those two
all about the
days,
recalibration.
that's right, you're right. But like today, there's four, right? And so it's turning into, so I don't know, there's something about that. How we're being assisted in what happens, somehow or some way. Yeah. So,
That's exactly it.
yeah. Now, have you noticed in yourself, and like in your relationships, have you noticed any type of difference in telepathy, heartfelt connection, intuition, even like lucid dreams, any of those categories?
Oh geez, don't even get me started. That's like the foundation. That's like 101 class with me. Only because I started out doing the work that I do in lucid dreaming, and so lucid dreaming has just been, lucid dreaming for me isn't lucid dreaming. That's just my other home. That's the my other reality that I live in. Where my soul lives. And so when this body is asleep, um my soul is up there having fun, having a party, learning lessons, doing whatever it needs to do. And with in regards to relationships, of course, I mean, with anyone who I'm close to and have a connection with, there's these synchronistic moments where we call or connect, especially with my co-host on my show, Rebecca. I'm not sure if you've seen the show, but we have a lot of psychic and connections and things, and how we work together is beautiful. And
Yeah.
how the flow of energy is just allowing it to be open for us to really tap into the newness of our abilities to hone, and then be able to teach other people how to really tap into this stuff.
Right on. And like you mentioned, people coming in greater numbers or greater percentage, with having or coming in wanting to face or deal with or release, or whatever you want to, what term you want to use, the sexual violation type of experience or trauma. How do you how do you assist and facilitate a person to bring that into the proper alignment, if you know, if I might use it that term, or even how do you deal with, let's say, child sex trafficking or any, you know, horrific type of issue that's on a global scale? Like, how do you approach that type of thing with the individual and or with yourself on the global scale?
Well, on a global scale, I haven't really done much work with that unless it's, through meditation. And, I can tell you a lucid dream about that experience, and then I can answer the other part of the question shortly after. But there was a dream that I had, when this first all hit, and I was on a recon team. And this recon team, had to go through all the tunnels and find out where everything was and so forth, what recon does. And so in the middle of recon, there was this giant machine, almost like a robot machine. Almost, if anyone is familiar with the movie RoboCop, it's
Okay.
almost looked like an Ed 209 type of machine, giant robot. And it freaked everybody out. And we ran, ducked for cover, and I think we all disappeared. So typically when people disappear, we usually wake up and jump back into our bodies for safety. And so that was, in one of my lucid dreaming experiences, which was really amazing, but also like, what the heck? Okay, that really happened. But to answer part two of your question about, my clients one on one, I don't address them. They bring it to me. So in the consultation process, they note on the form that they have to fill out before seeing me that's, hey, I dealt with this, I dealt with that, and that's something that I want to get released. And so it is an agreement and mutual agreement that this is something we're going to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we work on this, I bring whatever energies, because everyone, even though I've worked with several people that have had sexual abuse, but it is in the space that everything is different, because some people experienced it when they were like 5 and 7 years old. Some people didn't experience it until they were a teenager, but it's all the energy that you carry forward in your life. And so what I do is I work with them on the three different major life flows: inner child, adolescent, and adulthood. And so it is in that I work with them in 3 stages, 3 sessions, to clear out all their energy, because you know it's everything that we do from the root cause. The very first instance is a symptom of that. So people say, oh, I'm always tired, or I'm, have this anxiety, or, I can't commit to a relationship, or, I'm overeating, or, all these symptoms, all these things. And so I talk to them, about what it is that they're holding on to. And then, you know, in that they choose then, after a session with me, to take their power back, to regain their voice, to have all these things that they've given up to keep silent. And now, and people didn't believe them or didn't trust them because they were kids. And so, that's how it works on the individual level. But on the collective level, it's all done in meditation.
Mm. And like, we all have our stories, and you know, in the early part of our story, maybe even to this day, family, old friends,
Hmm.
old crowds that we ran
Hmm.
in or whatever. Uh, there was quite a bit of us standing on the outside looking in
Yeah.
and being looked at as weird. Are you finding any change in that, at least the last couple of years, or as time's gone on, especially this year? Are you finding people that once thought you were crazy coming back to you saying, "Hey, can we have a talk?"
It's interesting. I've never really had anyone that looked at me like I was crazy. I guess because I was always the one who was always careful just to be on that fine line, but never cross one way or the other. Because I always maintained my space of neutrality, my space of neutral observance. Because I feel in the space of neutral observance, you can see this side or that side, and it's not. being called Switzerland, as some people will call it. It's just being smart about the energy and what I give my energy to. Because I can say, oh, I'm going to be a fanatic and put my energy all over here, or be a super fanatic and put my energy all over there. And I feel like when you're in the space of being a neutral observer, you can see both sides and take what you want from either side, or really come to a true consensus of what the truth is, because there's a little bit of truth in everything,
Hmm.
you know.
How do you feel about how do you feel about um, maintaining the neutrality on the issues that are being put in our face? Let's just, COVID,
Yeah, just put it
mask,
out there. Yeah.
vaxes, whatever. Uh, how do you feel that the light worker crowd, or whatever you want to call it, star seeds? How do we need to be in a neutrality? Do we need to take a side? I understand that it's all a personal decision, but like, how do you approach that? What are your thoughts on how we equalize that imbalance and that division and separation? Is it by
You
the
know,
issue? Is it by the issue, or is it just strictly of the personal work we do on ourselves?
this has really brought division in the community. I mean, from what I've seen, those who are, those who aren't, and people calling each other names. It's like, oh, you're not spiritual, oh, you're not a light worker, oh, you don't believe it. So it's like it's gotten real ugly and messy. From my vantage point, from what I've been able to see on social media. And it is in that I feel where being neutral is even more important, because it's not saying that I'm against one or for another.
Right.
It is just me seeing the truth of it. And so on a personal level, it's my truth. It's what I see. It's what I know. It's what I understand. But in a collective sense, it is in that space of being neutral, to where you can still be vaccinated or not vaccinated and still live in your truth. And you don't have to argue someone down about, oh, that's wrong, what you did is wrong, and you're never going to come back from that. That's, it's like this whole belittling, that's not going to get anyone anywhere.
Hmm.
This whole arguing about, someone's personal choice is not going to get anyone anywhere, because that's only going to create more separation and more division, which is something that we uh, really don't need, or want less of, especially when we are put on the planet to raise the vibration. So how is it that you're going to tear someone else down by the choice that they've made, and still raise the vibration on the planet?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, no, it's, to me, it's kind of a simple, profound truth, but it's also a little sad and a little funny. And it's like, again, the collective population is a reflection of me. And
Yeah.
so, what's the biggest obstacle, challenge, threat that I'm going to come across? It's me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's that simple. It's me. Uh, so, what?
It's and it's the truth in that. I mean, Ava was always taught growing up, to always have to be open minded about things, to hear both sides of a story. No matter how much I want someone to believe my truth and my story, your truth and your story is just as important. And so, whatever you believe, whatever you follow, whatever is your personal doctrine,
Absolutely,
do
yeah,
that, follow
yeah.
that, be that. And if you
It,
want to express that, by all means express it. But I'm not here to judge you by your choice or decisions or what have you. I just want to listen and understand, because maybe what I'm doing is wrong, you know
true,
and
true,
so it is in
true.
that space of being neutral we learn.
Very, very true. Very true. We got, let me just, because I never do this and I always should. We've got Jeff Walsh in an hour, Pat Armistead at an hour after that, and Sibohan, Sioban Nikolai, an hour and a half after Pat Armistead. Hillis Pugh's been in the house. Thank you so much for being so open with us. I wish you the best. All blessings to you and yours. And
Thank you so
just keep
much,
on
Todd.
shining. And I'll see you the next time we get together.
Yeah, I gotta have you on my show, man.
Yeah, man. Maybe after the first of the year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
I got my plate full right now. I
I
just
know you
told
do like
everybody.
4 or 5 of these a day.
Yeah, well, no, we're not doing that many anymore, but it's usually two to
Yeah,
three. But
yeah,
today's four, so yeah, I don't
yeah.
know. Probably about 15 a week. We slowed it down a little bit. All right, man. You take care, and I'll catch you on the other side.
Thanks, Al. Have an amazing